We're back with our special report on the terrorist battle for control of Iraq and the possible U.S. response that's under review right now over at the White House. We're joined by the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, retired U.S. General Richard Myers. He now serves on the board of directors of defense contractors Northrop Grumman and United Technologies Corporation. Also joining us, CNN's Anderson Cooper. He's joining us live from Baghdad. Anderson, I understand there were some terrorist bombings in Baghdad, not far from where you were today. What did you see? What did you hear? What was going on?
There have been, and of course, that's really nothing new. I mean, yesterday we had 6 bombings, 1 car bomb, 5 roadside bombs. Yesterday, as many as 12 people were killed, dozens more injured. I haven't gotten a fatality toll today, but again, it's just a sign that, that there are already fighters inside the capital of Baghdad, which just adds to the security concerns of the people here, Wolf.
Stand by for a moment, because I want to get General Myers' thoughts. The president now reviewing military options. You've got a wealth of experience. A lot of us remembered you were one of the advisors that helped President Bush, Vice President Cheney. There's a picture back in the summer of 2004. You see Condoleezza Rice. All of you were at Crawford. Knowing what you know, what you've learned over these years, if the president, the current president, the commander-in-chief, were to ask you, General Myers, launch airstrikes, don't launch airstrikes, what would you say?
Well, I think there are a range of military options that are available to the president, and I'm sure General Dempsey, the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the CENTCOM commander are providing those options to him. They could, from equipping Iraqi forces, providing advice, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, providing eyes and ears for the Iraqi forces, up to airstrikes. Airstrikes would require more coordination with Iraqi forces than we're probably capable of right now. So that would take some time and planning, because your big fear there is you'd strike the wrong target. But those are all, I think, options that will be presented to the president. Maybe more. I doubt anybody's considering a boots-on-the-ground option.
The president has clearly ruled that out. Anderson, you're there on the ground. We know that the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs, he told Congress today that there is a formal request from the government there, from the Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, for U.S. airstrikes. Are people in Baghdad, where you are, the folks you're talking to, what do they want? What do they want the U.S. to do? Because it's further complicated by Iran potentially getting involved militarily as well.
Well, a lot of people you talk to on the street say, look, that Iraqis can defend themselves, but there are very real concerns about the capabilities of the Iraqi military. I mean, the fighting that's going on at the oil refinery up in Beji right now, that's said to be a specialized unit, a counterterrorism unit, which is still holding on to part of that refinery. They have been fighting back, but other forces maintaining roadblocks in the town of Beji, apparently, according to local reports, abandoned their posts, just as we've seen in Mosul and other places. There are very real concerns about whether the Iraqi military, especially in areas, largely Sunni-dominated areas, whether they're really willing to stand up and fight. In Mosul, a lot of the reports were it wasn't even defections on the battlefield in the battle. It was before battles had even begun. Iraqi officers and then lower-level Iraqi troops taking off. Nouri al-Maliki tonight announced on television through a spokesman they're going to investigate 59 high-level military officers and police officials for abandoning their posts. Potential punishments for those officers would be execution. So it just shows you the kind of concern, not only among people here, but even in the Iraqi government here, about the capabilities of their military.
And that's what's so frustrating to so many of us. And General Myers, I'm sure it is to you as well. The U.S. spends billions of dollars training and equipping these Iraqi military personnel, and then there's a little sign of some trouble for some terrorists are coming in. Instead of fighting and going to war and defeating these ISIS terrorists, they take off their uniforms, they throw down their weapons, and they run away. How do you explain that?
Well, I think the way you explain that, and by the way, there's some Iraqi, if you listen to our chairman, General Dempsey, today in front of Congress, he said, and I think everybody believes, that there are some Iraqi units that can and will fight. Clearly, that's not been the case across the board. But I think what the missing element is, the connectivity between those troops that are forward deployed out in Mosul and other places, and the political apparatus back in Baghdad. And if you don't have, if you don't have confidence in your political leadership, then you're probably not going to fight for them. And I think that's what we're seeing at this point. I think President Maliki bears a large responsibility for what's happening, and for not making sure that connective tissue between high-level policymakers in Baghdad and troops on the front line is consistent and connected.
Yeah, a lot of people have lost total confidence in the Prime Minister of Iraq, Nouri al-Maliki. They don't think he's ever going to be able to get the job done, certainly not what the U.S. would like to see. We'll see if the president conditions U.S. action on doing the right thing in Baghdad. General Myers, thanks very much. Anderson, I know you got a special report coming up 8 p.m. Eastern on AC 360. We will, of course, tune in for that. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Just ahead, Hillary Clinton answered an hour of questions live here on CNN, and now she's under fire for some of those answers, not just from Republicans who are complaining. Stand by.